Hello, this is National Chess Master Rats at chess.com to continue my video series on the team match, correspondence team match between my video lessons group and the team CARPE DIEM. This was played down on board 181. Our man is Schuli versus PAM234. Rating advantage about low mid 1600s versus high 1400s. Unfortunately, PAM234 timed out in both games. There was still a lot of chess to be played, but we can take a look at these and see what we come up with. And we start out with Sicilian defense, and we have the ever popular Najdorf variation. Been around quite extensively since the 1950s. It goes through periods of a lot of popularity, and then it declines, and then sidelines are explored. Bishop d3 is one of these sidelines. Bishop c4 makes it the Sozin. Bishop g5, one of the main lines. But anyway, let's see what happens here. White's going to get castled, and here, like I say, not much really happening. Essentially, the game's even, and it's going to stay. It should stay like this. Sicilian's one of those defenses that, as long as you get your pieces developed as black, you're okay. For White to win this game, he's got to either get you into a theoretical game that turns out bad for black, or he's just going to have to develop a nice kingside attack. And it's one of those dynamic defenses that black is usually able to hold a solid game with counterplay of his own. Now this next move creates a weakness on the long diagonal, and it creates a weakness on c3. White wants to develop his dark squared bishop, but he sees that queen could take the b pawn. But as a general rule, you don't want to make a move like this. It can just run into all kinds of trouble, and that's what's going to happen right now. It actually costs White a pawn. If you want to protect this, you can pawn. It's better to use a rook, or consider maybe trying to chase the queen out. Okay, but White plays b3, and this costs her a pawn. And here's the trick. And there's a pin on the knight, so the knight can't take. But now black gets to regain the sacrifice piece, and now the rook goes to b1 anyway. And here I think black kind of messes up his advantage. A good move would just get this bishop developed. Well, not just yet. Instead of castling, just one move back. The bishop's loose. It's fine to castle, but go ahead and play bishop d7 and keep an eye on this pawn. But anyway, White is going to win the pawn back, and then black makes another miscue. So, and here it comes, bishop f5. I don't think this was a wise choice by black. I think that he's basically going to have to give up material. White can win the exchange, or the quality as they call it elsewhere. White should play this move. Black needs to take back, and now bishop b2 offering exchanges, and if bishop takes, this rook is just going to take, and this pawn is covered. Okay, and if the bishop takes this pawn, White will take this bishop, and black is down a rook, and he's going to have to be a piece down after bishop takes and rook takes. And even though black has an extra pawn for it, it's not enough. White will win this. So I really don't see any chances at all for White in this position. Black gets to have all the fun. I don't understand why he made an exchange sacrifice. I don't think White White has enough counterplay here. It's a clear. Black. I mix white and black up all the time. Okay, who doesn't have counterplay here? Black doesn't have counterplay, even with his two bishops. White's just got a material advantage, and I think with bishop b2 that White's going to come out the better. Okay, but instead didn't take the bishop, or didn't take the rook on a8. let's see where it is in the PGN, played bishop b2 instead. And now this leads to an opposite color bishop position. Now some people say, well, that's a draw. Well, it's not a draw. The attack, as long as the rooks are on the board, the attacking side is always a piece ahead. Because it'll do more things. And both sides have an active bishop here. There's still a game of chess to be played. I would consider a strategy for black would be maybe consider anchoring this bishop in on e4. And then white's not getting rid of it. But at this point, I suppose black can still get this in. He can get the bishop there, but the white bishop isn't doing too badly. But it was at this point that white lost the game on time. Didn't log in, I guess, or who knows. But there's still a fight to be had. Can white draw? Yes, he could, or she could, but it's a long way off. Let's have a look at the other game. Let's load it up. What move will it start it out when I load it? Will it start at move 1 or somewhere else? We never know until we click OK. See, near the end. Okay, as we know, Pam timed out in this game, both games. This is not a good place to put the bishop. Okay, you're blocking in your e-pawn. Okay, that's a move you don't want to make anybody. Okay, and you're not going to hold on to that pawn. It's not going to happen. And I think black realizes that. And now, because this pawn is still blocked, black surrenders the bishop pair in order to effectively develop the bishop. So you usually don't want to give up the bishop pair unless you can gain some tempos with it. And black hasn't really gained any tempos, even though she has an extra piece developed. It's still a bishop pair, and if this board opens up, those bishops are going to be killers. So both sides develop, and I think the game is relatively even. White's only advantage is the fact that he has the bishop pair. And now, let's see. White now has a pass pawn, and there's really not much comment here because both sides are still completing their development. Development is not done yet. Both sides have to get their rooks in play. But I think the long-range prospects favor white here simply because of the bishop pair. But that doesn't mean black can't hold the game either. White has a protected pass pawn. It is reducing the mobility of this bishop. There could be a potential pawn sacrifice. But for now, both sets of rooks aren't in play. And that's something black needs to rectify. Get a rook to c8. Got to keep an eye on this knight. So that's why I say rook c8. Maybe try to transfer this knight to c4 where it looks like a good piece. And if it gets kicked, it can come park itself on d6, blocking the isolated pawn. There's a game of chess to be played here. I wouldn't. I could play either position, but of course I'd rather play white. But if I was black here, these are some of the plans I would be thinking of. White's advantage is having the two bishops and the fact that the board has potential to open up so that they can their full strength potential can be untapped. Anyway, as I said, there wasn't much to these games because of the forfeit, but I'm making a video of any game our team scores 1.5 or better. And according to what I have, I'm actually finally caught up. I last looked at the list of games that were there, and I didn't recognize any new ones, although we're getting a few points here and there. I think these are coming from players winning their first game. And so we'll just have to wait for more results to come in, and more videos will follow. I think this is number 75. Don't know how many they'll end up being, but the match is just over the 2/3 finish mark. So after 6 weeks of play, June 21st to August 3rd, it's about 12 and 6 weeks. All right, thanks so much for your time. Take care.